The morning sun cast long shadows across the research station on Kepler 442b. Kang Woo-jin wiped the sweat from his forehead as he carefully brushed dirt away from the strange crystal structure they had discovered 3 days ago. The artifact was unlike anything he had seen in his 10 years as a xenoarchaeologist. "This marking here," Woo-jin said, pointing to symbols carved into the crystal surface. "Dr. Park, what do you think these mean?" Park Mina adjusted her glasses and leaned closer. She had been studying alien languages for most of her life, but these symbols were completely new to her. "I have never seen anything like this before. The structure is too complex to be decorative. It must mean something important." Hund Katal, Woo-jin's research partner from the Vorthak species, moved closer on his forelegs. His reptilian head tilted as he examined the crystal. The tall alien's yellow eyes reflected the morning light as he spoke in his deep voice. "My people have stories about crystals like this one. The old ones called them doorways. But doorways, to where we do not know." Woo-jin had worked with Hund Katal for 2 years now. The Vorthak was different from other aliens at the station. While most species kept to themselves, Hund Katal had chosen to work closely with the humans. He said humans reminded him of his own people and their curiosity about the past. "Doorways," Woo-jin repeated. He ran his hand along the smooth crystal surface. It was warm to the touch, even though they were working in the shade. "The energy readings we got yesterday were off the charts. Whatever this thing is, it still has power after thousands of years." Commander Lee Hyunwoo walked over to their excavation site. The security chief looked worried as he checked his datapad. "We just got word from the council. They want a full report on this artifact by the end of the week. Some of the other species are getting nervous about what you found here." "Nervous about what?" Mina asked. "It's just an old piece of technology. We study this kind of thing all the time." "Not like this," Hyunwoo said. "The energy signature is unlike anything in our databases. The Zarathi delegation thinks it might be dangerous. They want us to stop the excavation." Woo-jin felt frustration building in his chest. This was the discovery of a lifetime. The crystal structure was clearly made by the architects, an ancient race that had disappeared long before any current species had developed space travel. Finding intact architect technology was incredibly rare. "We can't stop now," Woo-jin said. "We're so close to understanding what this is. Give us one more day." Hyunwoo looked at the crystal, then back at Woo-jin. "1 day. But if anything strange happens, we shut it down immediately." As the commander walked away, Hund Katal moved closer to Woo-jin. "My friend, I sense danger in this crystal. My people's instincts are rarely wrong about such things." "What kind of danger?" Woo-jin asked. "I do not know. But something about this place makes me want to hunt. To track something that is not there. It is very strange." Mina had been quiet while they talked, but now she looked excited. "I think I figured out part of the writing. This symbol here appears several times. In old architect texts, similar symbols meant crossing or bridge." "Bridge? To what?" Woo-jin asked. "That's what we need to find out." They spent the next few hours carefully documenting every symbol and energy reading. As the day grew hotter, most of the other research teams returned to the air-conditioned buildings. But Woo-jin's team kept working. This discovery was too important to rush. Around mid-afternoon, Woo-jin noticed something new. A section of the crystal that had been dark all morning was now glowing with a soft blue light. "Are you seeing this?" he called to Mina. She looked up from her notes. "The energy readings just jumped by 300%. Woo-jin, I think it's activating." Hund Katal's head snapped up, his nostrils flaring. "Something is wrong. The air smells different, like electricity before a storm." Woo-jin should have stepped back. He should have called Commander Hyunwoo immediately, but the scientist in him was too curious. The symbols on the crystal were now glowing brighter, pulsing in a pattern that almost looked like a heartbeat. "It's beautiful," he whispered, reaching out to touch the glowing surface. "Woo-jin, don't!" Mina shouted, but it was too late. The moment his fingers made contact with the crystal, everything changed. The world around Woo-jin became silent. Not the normal quiet of concentration, but the complete absence of all sound. He could see Mina's mouth moving, could see Hund lunging toward him, but he heard nothing. Then the crystal began to sing. It was not a sound he heard with his ears, but something deeper. The singing seemed to come from inside his bones, vibrating through his entire body. The blue light grew brighter and brighter until he could see nothing else. Wu Jin felt like he was falling, but there was no ground beneath his feet. The crystal's song grew louder, and he began to understand that it was not just random noise. It was a language, ancient and complex, telling him things about space and time that his human mind could barely process. Images flashed through his consciousness. He saw the architects as they had been millions of years ago, tall and graceful beings of pure energy. He saw them building doorways between worlds, creating bridges across impossible distances. And he saw why they had disappeared. They had opened too many doors. The last thing Wu Jin remembered was Hund anguished roar, a sound full of loss and determination. Then everything went dark. When the light faded, Mina and Hund stood alone at the excavation site. Where Wu Jin had been standing just moments before, there was nothing but empty air. His tools lay scattered on the ground. His water bottle sat exactly where he had left it. But Wu Jin himself was gone. "Where is he?" Mina whispered. "Where did he go?" Hund yellow eyes scanned the area, his natural hunting instincts in full alert. He could smell Wu Jin's scent, but it ended abruptly at the spot where his friend had vanished. It was as if Wu Jin had simply stopped existing. The crystal structure now looked ordinary again, its blue glow completely gone. But Hund could sense something that the others could not. There was still energy here, faint but present. A trail that only his species could detect. Commander Hyunwoo arrived with a full security team within minutes. They scanned the area with every piece of technology the station had, but found nothing. According to their instruments, Wu Jin had never been there at all. "It's impossible," Hyunwoo said. "People don't just vanish into thin air." But Hund knew better. His people had legends about such things, stories of hunters who followed prey into the Shadowlands and never returned. The old ones called them ghosts, beings caught between one world and another. As the security team packed up their equipment and prepared to seal off the excavation site, Hund made a silent promise. He would find his friend, no matter how long it took. He would search until the end of time if necessary. The others might call Wu Jin a ghost now, but Hund would be his shadow, following every trace, every hint of where he had gone. The hunt had begun. 3 months had passed since Wu Jin disappeared. The Galactic Council had closed the case after just 2 weeks, declaring him dead in what they called a tragic accident with unknown alien technology. But Hund refused to accept their conclusion. Every morning, the tall Vorthak returned to the sealed excavation site. He would stand where his friend had vanished, his yellow eyes scanning the ground for clues that others had missed. His sensitive nose could still detect traces of Wu Jin's scent, though it grew fainter each day. "You need to stop this, Dr. Park," Mina said as she approached him on another gray morning. "The council has made their decision. Wu Jin is gone." Hund reptilian head turned toward her. "Your species gives up too easily. My people do not abandon the hunt until we find what we seek." Mina sighed. She had been Wu Jin's closest human friend, and his loss hurt her deeply. But she had accepted what seemed obvious to everyone else. There's nothing left to find. He just vanished. Sometimes we have to accept that we can't explain everything. "I have found something," Hund said quietly. This got Mina's attention. "What do you mean?" The Vorthak pulled out a small device that looked like a modified scanner. "I have been studying the energy readings from that day. There are particles here that your instruments cannot detect. Very small, but they tell a story." "What kind of story?" "The story of where Wu Jin went." Before Mina could ask more questions, Commander Lee Hyunwoo jogged over to them. His face looked worried, which had become his normal expression since the incident. "Hund you need to see this. A ship just arrived from Earth. The passenger says she's Wu Jin's sister." Captain Kim Ji-won looked exactly like her brother, but with harder edges. She wore the uniform of Earth's deep space military and carried herself like someone used to command. When she saw Hund Katal, her expression softened slightly. "You must be the one who's been searching for my brother," she said. "I want to help." "The case is closed," Hyunwoo said firmly. "The council won't allow any more investigation." Jiwon's eyes flashed with anger. "The council can go to hell. That's my brother who disappeared. I'm not leaving until I know what happened to him." She had brought someone with her, a thin man with nervous energy who kept checking multiple devices at once. "This is Dr. Yoon Seokman, quantum physicist from Seoul University. If anyone can figure out what that crystal did, it's him." Dr. Yoon bowed politely to everyone, then immediately began setting up his equipment. "I've studied the official reports. The energy signature suggests dimensional displacement, not disintegration. Your brother might still be alive." Hund Katal felt hope flare in his chest. "You believe he lives?" "I believe he went somewhere else," Yoon said carefully. "The question is where and whether we can bring him back." Over the next few days, Jiwon and her team worked with Hund Katal to reanalyze everything from the day Woojin vanished. Dr. Yoon's advanced equipment detected the same strange particles that Hund Katal had found, but in much greater detail. "These are quantum displacement traces," Yoon explained to the group gathered in the research lab. "They suggest that your friend wasn't destroyed. He was moved to a different location in space-time." "You mean like teleportation?" Mina asked. "More complex than that. The energy pattern indicates movement between parallel dimensions. Think of it like stepping through a doorway into a room that exists in the same place but not quite the same. Reality." Hund Katal's tail lashed with excitement. "I knew he was not dead. My instincts told me he still existed somewhere. But their investigation had not gone unnoticed." Elder Vorth Khan, the leader of Hund Katal's clan, arrived at the station that evening. The ancient Vorthak was twice as large as Hund Katal, with scars covering his dark green scales. "Young hunter," the elder said in their native language, "you dishonor our people with this obsession. The human is gone. Accept this and return to proper work." "I cannot abandon my partner," Hund Katal replied, also in Vorthak. "The hunt is not finished." "The hunt for what? Ghosts? The other species? Already mock us for your behavior. They say the Vorthak have become weak, chasing shadows instead of real prey." Their conversation drew the attention of the human team, though they couldn't understand the words. Jiwon stepped forward. "Is there a problem here?" Elder Vorth Khan switched to standard galactic language. "Captain Kim, you must understand my clan member has become unstable since your brother's disappearance. He refuses to accept reality." "What if reality isn't what we think it is?" Jiwon shot back. "What? If my brother is still alive and needs our help? Then you are both fools chasing impossible dreams." That night, Hund Katal met secretly with Jiwon and Dr. Yoon in the abandoned section of the research station. The Vorthak had made a decision that would anger his clan, but he didn't care. "I have been tracking these energy patterns for 3 months, he told them. "There have been other disappearances over the years. Beings from different species, all in places where architect technology was found." Dr. Yoon looked up sharply from his calculations. "How many others?" "At least 12, that I have found records of. Maybe more, all were declared dead. All had the same quantum traces that I found at Woojin's site." Jiwon felt her heart racing. "You're saying this has happened before, and nobody investigated?" "The council covers up what they do not understand. They fear panic if people knew the truth." "What truth?" Yoon asked. Hund Katal showed them data he had collected over months of secret research. "The architect devices don't kill, they transport. But the council believes opening these doorways is dangerous. They prefer to let the missing stay missing, rather than risk what might happen if we try to bring them back." "Risk what?" Jiwon demanded. "Unknown. But I have found something else. The quantum traces are getting stronger. Every few days there is a pulse of energy from the location where Woojin vanished. Very faint but measurable." Dr. Yoon's eyes widened. "That could be a signal. If someone was trying to communicate across dimensional barriers, it might look exactly like this." "You mean Woojin might be trying to contact us?" Mina had been listening from the doorway. She had decided to join their secret meeting despite the risks. "It's possible," Yoon said, "but we would need much more sensitive equipment to detect a proper message, and we would need access to the crystal." "The site is sealed," Hyunwoo said, appearing behind Mina. The security chief had been following them, but instead of looking angry, he seemed thoughtful. "However, I still have override codes for the excavation area." Ji-won stared at him. "You want to help us?" Woo Jin was a good man. If there's even a small chance he's still alive somewhere, we owe it to him to try. But we have to be careful. If the council finds out what we're doing, they'll shut us down permanently. Hun Katal felt something he hadn't experienced in months. Hope mixed with the thrill of a hunt that was finally moving forward. His friend was out there somewhere, and now he had allies who believed in the search. "When do we begin?" he asked. Ji-won smiled grimly. "Tonight. We're going to find my brother, even if we have to break every council rule to do it." As the group made their plans, none of them noticed the small monitoring device hidden in the corner of the room. Someone else was watching their every move, and that someone had very different ideas about what should happen to people who disappeared into the shadows between worlds. Woo Jin opened his eyes to darkness. Not the normal darkness of night, but something deeper and more complete. He had been unconscious for what felt like hours, though time seemed strange in this place. When he tried to stand, his legs shook like he had been sleeping for days. The air tasted different here. It had a metallic flavor that made his tongue feel dry. As his eyes adjusted, he began to see shapes around him. He was still in the research station, but everything looked wrong. The walls were the same, but they seemed older somehow. Rust-covered, surfaces that had been cleaned before. The lights flickered weakly, casting moving shadows that made him feel dizzy. And there was silence. Complete, total silence that pressed against his ears. "Hello?" he called out. His voice echoed strangely, as if the sound was being absorbed by the walls themselves. No answer came. Woo Jin walked carefully through the corridors he knew so well. But this version of the station felt like a place that had been abandoned for years. Dust covered everything, and many of the rooms were empty of equipment. When he reached the main research lab, he found it completely dark. He spent the first day exploring, trying to understand where he was. The station seemed to stretch further than it should, with corridors that led to rooms he had never seen before. Some areas were exactly as he remembered them. Others were completely different, as if built by someone who had only heard descriptions of the real place. On the second day, he heard footsteps. "Hello?" he called again, following the sound down. A hallway he didn't recognize. "Is someone there?" "You're new," a voice said from the shadows. A woman stepped into the dim light. She looked human, but her clothes were torn and dirty. Her hair hung loose around her face, and her eyes had the look of someone who had seen too much. "Who are you?" Woo Jin asked. "Nam Yoonji. I was a geologist at Research Station Delta. At least I think I was. Time is strange here. How long has it been since you arrived?" 2 days, I think, maybe 3. It's hard to tell without proper light. Yoonji laughed, but there was no joy in the sound. "I've been here 5 years. Or maybe 50. The days blend together after a while." 5 years. That's impossible. "Where exactly are we?" "The Shadow Realm," another voice said. A large insectoid creature stepped out from behind a broken wall. It looked like a giant ant standing on 2 legs with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected the weak light. "I am Crix Tor of the Chitari. I have been trapped here for what you would call decades." Woo Jin felt his scientific mind trying to process what he was seeing. "Shadow Realm? What does that mean?" "It means we're between worlds," Yoonji explained. "Not alive, not dead, but something in the middle. The architect devices don't kill people. They send us here. But why? What is this place for?" Crix Tor made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. The architects were experimenting with consciousness transfer. They wanted to move minds from one body to another, from one reality to another. This realm was their testing ground. testing ground. For what? For seeing how long a consciousness could survive without a proper anchor to reality, Yunji said. We're the test subjects they left behind. Over the following days, Wu Jin learned the rules of the Shadow Realm. Time moved differently in different areas. Sometimes an hour would pass in what felt like minutes. Other times, minutes stretched into what seemed like days. The further you went from the center of the station, the more distorted everything became. The architects built this place as a buffer zone, Krixtor explained as they walked through a section where the walls seemed to breathe. Between the real world and something else, something they were trying to reach. What were they trying to reach? We don't know. But whatever it was, it destroyed them. The Shadow Realm is all that's left of their experiments. Yunji had become something like a guide for newcomers. She showed Wu Jin which areas were safe and which ones would drive. You insane if you stay too long. There were rooms where gravity worked sideways, corridors that were longer when you walked back than when you walked forward, and places where you could see echoes of events that had happened in the real world. The worst part, she told him as they sat in what had once been the station cafeteria, is that we're slowly fading. The longer we stay here, the less real we become. Eventually, we'll disappear completely. How long do we have? Depends on the person. I've seen some people last 10 years. Others fade away in months. It's about how strong your connection to reality is. Wu Jin thought about his friends in the real world. Hund Katal would be searching for him, he was sure of that. The Vorthak never gave up on a hunt. But would he be able to find a trail that led between dimensions? Has anyone ever escaped? He asked. Not that we know of, Krixtor answered. But we've heard rumors. Stories of people who found ways to send signals back to the real world. What kind of signals? Quantum echoes. Brief pulses of energy that might be detectable by sensitive equipment. But you need to know exactly when and where to send them. That night, Wu Jin couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about what Krixtor had said about quantum echoes. If he could find the right place in the Shadow Realm, maybe he could send a message to his friends. But he would need to time it perfectly and hope that someone was listening. He spent the next week exploring areas that Yunji and Krixtor had warned him about. Places where reality was thin and dangerous. In one room, he found what looked like a control panel covered in the same symbols he had seen on the crystal artifact. The panel was still active, glowing with the same blue light that had transported him to this place. When he touched it, he could feel energy flowing through his hands. It was connected to something in the real world, he was sure of it. This is it, he whispered to himself. This is how I get home. But as he studied the alien controls, he realized that activating the device might be dangerous. The Shadow Realm was unstable, and sending signals between dimensions could make things worse. He might save himself but trap the others forever, or he might destroy both worlds completely. Still, he had to try. His friends were counting on him to find a way back, and if Hund Katal was searching for him, the Vorthak would need some kind of trail to follow. Wu Jin placed his hands on the control panel and began to understand the architect technology through touch and instinct. The device responded to his thoughts, showing him glimpses of the real world. He could see the research station, could see people moving through corridors he recognized. And in one brief flash, he saw Hund Katal standing exactly where Wu Jin had disappeared, his yellow eyes scanning the ground with the intensity of a predator tracking prey. I'm here, my friend, Wu Jin whispered. I'm still here. He focused all his energy into one brief pulse, a quantum echo that carried his consciousness signature across the barrier between worlds. It lasted only a fraction of a second, but it was enough. In the real world, Hund Katal's head snapped up. Something had touched his awareness, something familiar and desperate. The trail he had been following for months had just become stronger. The hunt was about to enter a new phase. Hund Katal's entire body went rigid as the quantum echo hit his senses. It was like catching the scent of prey after months of searching empty trails. The signal lasted only a moment, but it carried something unmistakable, Wu Jin's life signature. He's alive, the Vorthak whispered, his yellow eyes wide with excitement. Dr. Yoon looked up from his equipment, which had been scanning the sealed excavation site for the past hour. Did you say something? Wu Jin is alive. I felt him reach across the barrier. Captain Kim Ji-won moved closer. What do you mean you felt him? My people evolved as hunters. We can sense life energy across great distances. What I just experienced was Wu Jin's consciousness touching ours across dimensional space. Commander Hyunwoo, who had been watching for Council security patrols, joined their group. Even if that's true, we still can't detect him with our instruments. Your instruments are not designed for this, Hund Katal said, but I can track him now. The signal was weak, but it created a path that only my species can follow. Dr. Yoon's scanners suddenly began beeping rapidly. Wait, I'm getting something. A massive energy spike just registered on the quantum displacement detector. It matches the pattern from 3 months ago, but much smaller. That was Wu Jin, Hund Katal said with certainty. He found a way to send us a message. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a sleek diplomatic transport. Ambassador An Tae-hyung stepped out, followed by several council security officers. The ambassador looked angry as he approached their group. What is the meaning of this unauthorized investigation? He demanded. This site was sealed by direct order of the Galactic Council. We're conducting legitimate research, Ji-won said, stepping between the ambassador and her team. Research into what? A case that was closed months ago? Captain Kim, you are operating outside your authority here. Before Ji-won could respond, another figure emerged from the transport. It was a being that looked like a robot, but moved with fluid grace that suggested advanced artificial intelligence. Its metallic surface reflected the morning sun as it spoke, in a voice like musical chimes. Ambassador On, perhaps we should hear what they have discovered, the cybernetic being said. I am Thex-9 of the Integrated Consciousness Collective. We have been monitoring this situation with great interest. Monitoring? Hyunwoo asked suspiciously. The collective has detected unusual dimensional fluctuations from this location. We believe the research team may have stumbled upon something significant. Ambassador On looked frustrated. Thex-9, the Council has already decided that further investigation is too dangerous. We cannot risk destabilizing dimensional barriers. What dimensional barriers? Dr. Yoon asked. What aren't you telling us? Thex-9's optical sensors focused on the human physicist. The architect devices do not simply transport matter from one location to another. They create tiers in the fabric of space-time itself. Each activation weakens the barriers between parallel dimensions. And you think continuing to use them could cause problems? Mina asked. We know it will cause problems, Ambassador On said grimly. The Council has been dealing with dimensional instabilities for years. Every time someone disappears through an architect device, the barriers get weaker. Hund Katal's tail lashed with anger. So you leave them to die rather than try to rescue them? We sacrifice the few to save the many, An replied coldly. If the dimensional barriers collapse completely, it could destroy multiple realities. But what if there's another way? Dr. Yoon asked. What if we could rescue the missing people without destabilizing anything? Thex-9 made a sound like electronic laughter. Impossible. The collective has run millions of calculations. Any attempt to retrieve someone from the Shadow Realm would require opening the same dimensional tiers that caused the problem in the first place. The Shadow Realm? Ji-won asked. You know where they are? Ambassador An realized he had said too much. That information is classified. Not anymore, said a new voice. Dr. Han Minji stepped out from behind the diplomatic transport. She was a small woman with intelligent eyes and carried equipment that looked more advanced than anything the research team had seen. Dr. Han works for the collective, Thex-9 explained. She specializes in dimensional physics. I've been studying the Shadow Realm for 10 years, Dr. Han said. It's a buffer zone between realities, created by the architects as part of their consciousness transfer experiments. The people who disappear aren't dead. They're trapped in a space between dimensions. Can they be rescued? Hund Katal asked urgently. Theoretically, yes, But the Council is right about the dangers. Every time we open a portal to the Shadow Realm, we risk causing a cascade failure that could merge multiple dimensions. So we do nothing? Jiwan's voice was filled with frustration. We just leave my brother and all the others to fade away in this Shadow Realm? Unless, Dr. Han said quietly, someone was willing to go in after them. Ambassador An stepped forward angrily. Absolutely not. I forbid any such attempt. You don't have that authority, Thex9 said. The collective has decided to support a rescue mission. We believe the risk is acceptable if properly managed. Managed how? By sending someone who can track the missing individuals quickly and guide them back before the portal destabilizes. Someone with natural hunting abilities that work across dimensional boundaries. All eyes turned to Hund Katal. The Vorthak understood immediately what they were suggesting. You want me to enter the Shadow Realm, he said. It's the only way, Dr. Han explained. Your species' tracking abilities are based on life energy detection. Those abilities should work even better in a dimension where the barriers between consciousness and reality are thin. But would you be able to get back, Mina asked. Unknown, Thex9 admitted. The portal can only remain open for a limited time. If the rescue team doesn't return before it closes, they would be trapped as well. Hund Katal looked at the faces of his friends. He saw hope mixed with fear, determination mixed with doubt. But his decision was already made. How long would I have? Based on our calculations, the portal could remain stable for approximately 6 hours, Dr. Han said. After that, the dimensional stress would become too great. 6 hours to find Wu Jin and bring him back. To find all of them, Jiwan corrected. If we're doing this, we save everyone we can. Ambassador An made one final attempt to stop them. This is madness. If you fail, you could destroy both dimensions. The Council will never approve this. Then we don't ask for approval, Hyunwoo said firmly. We do what's right. Dr. Han began setting up her dimensional portal generator while Thex9 interfaced with the architect crystal to provide additional power. The cybernetic being's optical sensors glowed brighter as it processed massive amounts of data. The portal will open at the exact location where your friend disappeared, it told Hund Katal. From there, you will need to rely on your natural abilities to track him. I can find him, Hund Katal said with quiet confidence. I have been following his trail for months. Now I will follow it across dimensions. As the portal generator powered up, filling the air with the same blue light that had taken Wu Jin away, Hund Katal felt the familiar excitement of a hunt reaching its climax. But this time, the stakes were higher than any hunt his people had ever attempted. He was going to bring his friend home or die trying. The portal opened with a sound like thunder mixed with singing crystal. Blue light poured out of the dimensional tear, and through it, Hund Katal could see the twisted version of the research station that existed in the Shadow Realm. Remember, Dr. Han called out over the noise of the portal generator, you have 6 hours maximum. After that, the dimensional stress will collapse the gateway. Hund Katal nodded, his yellow eyes focused on the swirling energy in front of him. Every instinct his species had developed over millions of years told him this was dangerous. But stronger than fear was the need to find his friend. Bring them all back, Captain Kim Ji-won said. I will, the Vorthak replied, and stepped through the portal. The sensation of crossing between dimensions felt like drowning in electricity. For a moment, Hund Katal couldn't tell which way was up or down. Then his feet touched solid ground and he found himself standing in the Shadow Realm version of the excavation site. Everything here felt wrong. The air was too thick, the light too dim, and sounds echoed strangely as if the walls were made of something other than metal and stone. But most importantly, he could smell life. Wu Jin's scent was stronger here than it had been in the real world. His friend was definitely alive, and not too far away. But there were other scents too, beings from different species who had been trapped in this place for varying amounts of time. Hund Katal began to hunt. His 4 legs carried him swiftly through corridors that seemed to stretch longer than they should. The Shadow Realm's distorted geography didn't confuse him like it would other species. Vorthak hunters were used to tracking prey through landscapes that changed as they moved. He found the first group of survivors in what had once been the station's main laboratory. Nam Yunji looked up in shock as the tall reptilian alien entered the room. "Who are you?" she asked. "How did you get here?" "I am Hund Katal. I have come to take you home." "Home?" Krixtor clicked excitedly. "You mean there's a way out?" "There is, but we must hurry. I need to find Wujin first." "The human who arrived recently?" Yunji said. "He's in the deep sections, trying to stabilize, something he calls a control system. He thinks the shadow realm is collapsing." Hund Katal felt ice in his veins. "Collapsing? The dimensional barriers are breaking down," another voice said. A thin human man stepped out of the shadows. "I'm Li Donghae. I was a transport pilot before I got trapped here. Been watching the realm deteriorate for months." "Where is Wu Jin?" "Follow." "Me," Yunji said. "But be warned, the deeper we go, the more unstable reality becomes." They traveled through sections of the shadow realm that hurt to look at. Walls bent in impossible directions. Gravity worked sideways in some rooms, and time seemed to skip forward and backward randomly. But Hund Katal's hunting instincts kept him focused on his friend's trail. They found Wu Jin in a vast chamber filled with architect technology. The human was working frantically at a control panel covered in glowing symbols, his hands moving with desperate precision. "Wu Jin," Hund Katal called out. His friend spun around, and for a moment his face showed pure joy. "My friend, you found me. I told you I would never stop hunting for you." "You need to get everyone out of here immediately," Wu Jin said urgently. "The shadow realm is collapsing into itself. When it goes, it'll take parts of our reality with it. Then come. We leave now." "I can't." Wu Jin's expression was pained. "Someone has to maintain the dimensional barriers manually, or both worlds will be destroyed. The architects built this place as a buffer, but it needs a consciousness to guide." "No," Hund Katal said firmly. "I will not leave you behind. You have to get the others to safety. There must be another way." Before Wu Jin could respond, the chamber filled with a new presence. A figure made of shifting light and shadow appeared near the control panel. It looked almost human, but its edges kept changing like smoke and wind. "There is another way," the figure said in a voice like whispered wind. "I am what remains of the architect who built this realm. I have been waiting for someone who could help me complete the work." "What work?" Wu Jin asked. "The bridge. We never finished the bridge between dimensions. It was meant to allow safe passage while maintaining the barriers, but we ran out of time before our species fell." The architect Echo gestured to the control panel. "Your friend is right that someone must guide the realm's collapse. But with two consciousnesses working together, one human and one Vorthak, you could create a permanent stable gateway instead of destruction." "How?" Hund Katal asked. "Human adaptability combined with Vorthak loyalty and tracking instincts. Your species bond in ways that transcend physical reality. That bond could anchor the bridge permanently." Wu Jin and Hund Katal looked at each other. They had worked together for years, trusted each other completely. If anyone could make this work, it would be them. "What do we need to do?" Wu Jin asked. "Place your hands on the control panel together. Let your consciousness merge temporarily, while I guide the process." The two friends approached the alien technology. Around them, the other survivors watched anxiously as cracks began appearing in the chamber walls. The shadow realm was running out of time. "If this doesn't work," Wu Jin said quietly, "I want you to know you're the best partner I've ever had." "It will work," Hund Katal replied. "We hunt together. We succeed together." They placed their hands on the control panel simultaneously. Energy flowed through both of them, and suddenly Hund Katal could feel Wu Jin's thoughts as clearly as his own. The human's adaptability and curiosity mixed with the Vorthak's determination and loyalty, creating something new. The architect Echo guided their combined consciousness through the process of rebuilding the dimensional bridge. Instead of a barrier that kept realities apart, they created a controlled gateway that allowed safe passage while maintaining stability. The process felt like it took hours, But when they opened their eyes, the chamber had transformed. The walls were solid again, the air felt normal, and a stable portal showed the real world beyond. "It is done," the architect Echo said, already beginning to fade. "The bridge will hold as long as your friendship endures." One by one, the trapped survivors stepped through the portal back to reality. Yunji went first, then Krix Tor, then Donghae and the others. Finally, only Wu Jin and Hund Katal remained. "Ready to go home?" Wu Jin asked. "With you, always." They stepped through the portal together, emerging into the real world where their friends waited anxiously. The portal didn't close behind them, but instead stabilized into a permanent archway that glowed softly with blue light. Captain Kim Ji-won ran to her brother, tears streaming down her face. Dr. Yoon immediately began scanning the survivors with his equipment. Commander Hyun-woo coordinated medical care for everyone, but Hund Katal noticed something strange about his friend. Wu Jin now cast two shadows, one normal and one that seemed to extend toward the dimensional portal. The experience had changed, him permanently, connecting him to both realities. "The bridge is stable," Dr. Han reported after running her tests. "It's incredible. You've created a permanent safe passage between dimensions." Ambassador An approached reluctantly. "The Council will want to study this phenomenon." "The Council will treat it with respect," Thex9 corrected firmly. "This represents a new chapter in interdimensional science." As the excitement died down, Wu Jin and Hund Katal found themselves alone at the portal. The shadow realm beyond looked different now, no longer a prison but a place of transition and possibility. "So, what happens now?" Wu Jin asked. "Now we continue our work," Hund Katal replied. "But we'll never be just partners anymore. We're connected across realities." "Brothers," Wu Jin said with a smile. "Brothers," the Vorthak agreed. They had been called Ghost and Shadow, Hunter and Hunted, but in the end, they were simply friends who refused to give up on each other, and that bond had literally changed the fabric of reality itself. The hunt was over. The family was complete.